It's 6:30. We will call the Monday, April 24th City Council meeting to order. If we could please start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there anything on the consent agenda? No. Any additions to the agenda?
I have no additions, Mayor.
I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. That will take us to public comments. If there's anyone who would like to discuss anything that is not on the agenda, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close public comments. We'll move to consent agenda. Anything on the consent agenda that needs to be pulled for further discussion? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. So with that, we'll move to resolution 2023-17. And with that, if we could, Tom, if you could come up to the podium, that would be great. Thank you. So resolution 2023-17, congratulating Tom Stifter on his retirement from the Mayer Fire Department. Whereas Tom Stifter served as a firefighter for the Mayer Fire Department for 37 years from February 1986 to March 2023. And whereas the City Council for the City of Mayer expresses their gratitude for his loyal and dedicated service to the community of Mayer. And whereas the City Council for the City of Mayer wishes to honor his achievements by congratulating Tom on his retirement. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council for the City of Mayer, Minnesota, that the city bestow upon Tom Stifter a plaque recognizing his 37 years of service on the Mayer Fire Department, along with his service helmet to commemorate his dedication and achievement to those years same. So with that, we will look for a motion to approve resolution 2023-17.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. So with that, Tom, we want to thank you on behalf of all the residents, on behalf of the entire fire district, Western Carver County, Mutual Aid. We appreciate your service, everything we've done. We know it's been a lot of training, a lot of time away from your family. We thank your family for all that. And kind of like Lois was talking about a couple months ago, I'm sure Lori's will be glad your pager's not going off in the middle of the night any longer.
You're dealing with more of me, though.
Yeah. Well, there's always that, but so with that, I'd like to present a plaque here. Present this award to Tom Stifter in appreciation for his loyal and dedicated service to the Mayer Fire Department. Thank you. And then with that, we'll have
I just want to personally thank Tom for everything he has done for the fire department. Spent, countless hours helping us out. He was a training officer for 15 years, I believe, 11 years. We'll call it longer than that.
27.
He did many things, taught me a lot as I grew up as a young fireman, taught me a lot growing up. And so we just wish him well on his retirement, and thank you for all your services,
All right,
Tom.
thank you. Thank you guys for showing up for me.
picture.
That's your good side.
Okay.
All right. What's up? We actually like to see some at the fire station.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
You guys are welcome to stick around if we like. We have the 2022 financial audit coming up next. Oh, okay.
It's a hard no.
I'm not.
All right, with that then, I think we can move on to consider the approval of the 2022 audit.
Do you want to do an intro, Nick, or do you just want me to jump in?
Well, this is Bonnie. She is one of our auditors from Abdo Eichen Myers, and she is here to present the summary of the audit.
Well, thank you for coming out. Bonnie.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. So I'm going to go through the results of the 2022 financial statement audit. The more detailed audit report is in a draft form right now, and we'll plan on finalizing that and submitting it to the Office of the State Auditor after this presentation and your approval tonight. So I'm going to go through our summary report with you. If you have any questions as I'm going through this, please feel free to stop me and we can touch on anything as it comes up. Also, I'll take some questions at the end if you have any. All right, so I'm going to start with our audit opinion and responsibility, and then we'll go into some of the financial results. We also have some key performance indicators, fancy way of just saying some ratio information from some other cities and your county as well that we'll take a look at. And so first, a little bit about our audit opinion. So we will be issuing an unmodified opinion. And what that really means for the city is that at the very front of your audit report, there is an independent auditor opinion letter that tells the users of your financial statements if they can trust them or not. It is required by state statute that you have an audit completed by an independent third party CPA firm. And so that's where we come in and you engage with us to provide that audit opinion. And so that unmodified opinion tells people that look at your financial statements that they can trust them, like I mentioned, and also they're free of material misstatements. So there's nothing intentionally omitted or there's no significant errors that people need to be aware of. So clean audit overall. We also review internal controls. We'll go through the findings here. And so we have 2 internal control findings within the report. These are consistent with what you've seen in the past, nothing new here. Preparation of financial statements is the first one. It essentially says that as an outside entity, we prepare your financial statements, but they are the responsibility of the city. So that's why we're here tonight to go through them with you, so you can hear about those results. And then also limited segregation of duties. So as you all know, the city staff is small, or at least was in 2022, right? And so that poses more risk. And I think you all kind of have a lot more context for that now than maybe you even did in the past. And so the processes that you go through as far as for approval and monitoring are very important because of that small number of staff. And I know that there's been a lot of really good changes made in 2023 to make sure that there's a lot more approvals done and the processes are tightened up quite a bit. So that's great to see. Okay, so now going into the financial results. So here is an overview of your general fund. So your general fund is the main operating fund of the city. It's important to have a strong fund balance in there so you can cover your operating cost as needed. And so you can see for 2022, your fund balance did increase to about 60% of your operating cost. The city currently has a fund balance policy of 50%. And so your policy says that you should keep 50% of your next year's budget in your reserves at all time, just for the general fund. And you can see you are over that. So that allows you a little bit of flexibility there. And it's always important to review that fund balance policy and make sure it's exactly what the city needs for future projects and stuff like that. Here's a look at your general fund budget compared to actual. And so you can see where you had budgeted for the year compared to where you had ended up. So your revenues were over budget by about 50,000, expenditures were under budget by about 32,000. And so that allowed you to increase your general fund balance. So a good positive budget year in both revenues and expenditures. There was a very small transfer out to, as you can see there, that was unbudgeted, and that was allowed because of some of the excess that you had available there. And then here's a look at your general fund revenues. So you can see you have taxes, license and permits, charges for services, that other category, that's mostly intergovernmental aid. So like your local government aid is included in that other category there. And here's a look at your spending per department. So general government, that experienced an increase this year with a lot of the city administrator search. That kind of jumped that up there. The transfers out was to fund some different projects there. So nothing too much out of the ordinary except for those two. And then here's a look at your special revenue funds. So separate from your general fund, you have these two smaller funds that are essentially restricted for these very specific purposes. And so these are, unlike the general fund, you can't really spend these on anything except for economic development and then also the fire department contributions there. So those are restricted in nature. And then you also have a few different capital project funds, and these are assigned for these different capital needs. So you can see your balances there. You have some large balances within that capital project fund, also park improvements, and then also the public works building, the fire truck fund. And then for debt service, you can see here what your debt service requirements look like over the next 10 years. Your next bond does mature in 2023, another one in 2026, and then your last bond on there that was just issued in 2021 matures in 2041. So you have some room there once a couple bonds fall off here in the next few years to free up some capacity. And then switching gears a little bit, here's your water fund. And so the water fund really should be self-maintained. And so these charts are showing you, are your receipts sufficient to cover your disbursements and also your debt payments? And so on this top chart here, you can see that your operating receipts for the past 2 years have been just enough to cover your operating costs and your debt payments. And then you can also see what your cash balances have been doing for the past 4 years there. We have a very basic minimum target balance that we recommend to include 50% of your operating costs plus your debt payments and your cash balance. And so you can see that black line going across your cash balance on the bottom. So you're well above that. Your cash is going down just a little bit due to some capital stuff that has come up, but you still have sufficient cash within your water fund. And then here's a similar look for your sewer fund. And so the sewer fund, you can see there the cash balance, again, sufficient to cover your operations and meet that minimum target balance. So nothing too much there to worry about. There are some additional resources that come into this sewer fund on top of the operating receipts to help pay back that debt as well. So that's why your cash balance is not going down. And then here is your stormwater fund. So there was some really large stormwater repairs this year that ate up some of your cash balance. But again, you're at that minimum target balance of operating costs. So nothing to be too concerned about there. This fund generally tends to build up cash repeatedly and then drop it down in 1 year with some storm repairs. And here's just a overall look at your cash and investments by fund, so you can see kind of where your cash is sitting. So most of your cash is sitting within those enterprise funds. And so when you look at your bank and investment balances, it's split out between all of these different areas, and most of it is committed for specific purposes. The general fund is really kind of the only unassigned balance, and that's at the very bottom there. And then I have just a couple of these key performance indicators to show you. And so what we've done is we've taken information from the Office of the State Auditor. They've given us info for all of the cities in the state, and then we've compiled it into class 4 cities, which is all the cities under 10,000 in population, and then cities in Carver County. So we've averaged those out just to give you a rough idea of how you compare in these different areas to some peer groups. And so you can see there for your tax rate, so you're lower there than those peer groups, and then also your taxes per capita consistent with the tax rate as well, lower than those peer groups. And then here's a look at your capital spending compared to other cities. This one is just kind of interesting to look at and see. It really varies depending on the different types of projects that you have going on. Obviously in 2021, you had the fire hall costs, and so that jumped everything up quite a bit. And then here is a look at your water and your sewer fund and how well it's able to cover its debt obligations. And so really your goal for debt service coverage is to meet 100% debt service coverage. That's kind of like the ultimate goal to shoot for. And you can see there, you're not too far off from that. So for water, you're at 98%. Your operating receipts are able to cover 98% of your debt payments. And then for sewer, you're at 80% there. So those are going in the right direction, and you're almost at that goal for both of those funds. And then here is my contact information and also Steve's contact information if you ever have any questions. So lovely pictures. That's an old picture of me from a few years ago. But any questions that I can take right now? And like I mentioned, we'll plan on finalizing the full audit report after tonight and get that submitted.
Any questions?
Looking good.
No, I think it looks great. I appreciate the time you guys spent working on that. A great job as always.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's wonderful to work with the city, and Nick, you did a great job coming in the first time coming into the audit in a new city can be stressful, maybe just a little stressful, but it went really well from our perspective.
For the administrators, I'm glad it went well. So thank you.
Yes.
I want to say it was a smooth process on your guys.
Oh, good. Good. That's wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So with that, I will look for a motion to approve the 2022 audit.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? I'd just like to comment on, I think, a fabulous job was done in 2022. We typically have, we had the two typical findings that we're going to have year after year for many more years, just because of the way we're set up for a small community. It just shows with the three administrators from last year with, Maggie and then the interim and then Nick. And again, I thank Maggie for what she had done during that time, and the interim when Luann came in obviously kept things good, and Nick, we appreciate with that. And then of course, Janelle, thank you for everything you've done for the year. A lot of this was because of you that we didn't have these and helping these three administrators. So I appreciate everything you did in 2022. You were certainly the biggest piece of this, but I'm really impressed that we didn't have any findings that we typically do. So thank you all. That's all I have. Any other comments? So with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. And that will take us to the adoption resolution to surplus fire department equipment.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Metzold and I got to talking together, and he identified an opportunity through the League of Minnesota Cities where we can donate our old Motorola pagers and associated chargers, and then they can repurpose them out to other fire departments who still use these in their system. We haven't used these for, I think, a little while now with the pagers, or pagers we just bought. So these are obsolete for us. So being able to give them extra life in another fire department is great, as we would, on our end, if we were to receive some equipment from another fire department that they may not need anymore, is just passing that along and helping out other fire departments.
Well, with that, I'll look for a motion to approve resolution 2023-18.
Motion.
We have a motion from Councilmember Halt. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Wagner. Any further discussion? With that, thank you, Andy, for putting this together. I think this is great. And like I said, Nick, we also, we've gotten things from the DNR. We've received things, so I think it's good to give back. And I would push for if there's anything else we could do, if you have turnout gears or boots or anything that go to worn-torn areas or third world, somewhere where we could donate that they could use if they're expired, would be better than nothing. So I would have you look at anything we can do. I think this is great. I thank you for that. So with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. That will take us to the approval of the contract with Ridgeview Ambulance Service.
So we've been working on solidifying the contract with Ridgeview Ambulance Service for them to occupy the new fire hall, and we've got this together. Excuse me. They'll be occupying the center office in the new fire hall, and then they will be occupying one of the bays associated with that. I think we're going to have ourselves a really good relationship with them. It'll be a benefit to the community and to the fire department. So it'd be looking for approval of the ambulance substation lease agreement.
Just to clarify, Nick, so if we approve this today, will this just be approving the contract that we will be able to move forward when we're ready? Or is the plan to tomorrow get a hold of them? Here's our contract. You guys can come on and move in.
This enables them to move in whenever it makes sense.
Okay.
Have you had any further discussions with the director?
No, just in speaking with the director last time, I think I saw him last Thursday. He asked where it was at and kind of been patiently waiting. So I think after this and tomorrow, we would contact him, let him know that, we've got that signed, and then move forward. And when it makes most sense for them to, move in.
Okay. My only hesitation, again, I think we may have talked about this, is I want to make sure that we're completely set with the sheriff's department before Ridgeview moves in case we have to pivot and do something. With the sheriff, it's a must. We must provide a space where with Ridgeview, we don't have to. So that's my only concern is I just want to make sure we're aligned with that. And I think we're getting close to where, and a lot of things are changing at the sheriff's department, so that it may come down to, we don't even have to provide a space, but for me, I'd like to make sure we're set with the sheriff before we move Ridgeview in, if it could be a couple more weeks and just finalize it. But that's my only concern with it. That's why I was asking. So with that, I'll look for a motion to approve the contract with Ridgeview Ambulance Service.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion, a second. Any further discussion?
And Andy, again, you're comfortable with this? We've got the space. It's not a,
Yeah, I've, like I said, we've spoken with them a number of times. Felt found the best place, for them that kind of least impacts our, stuff. And again, it was, he also understands that, it's going to be a contract that, if down the road something just doesn't work out, it isn't a fit for us or them either way, that we can kind of back out at any set point. So it's not, I don't believe the wording in the contract isn't that here it's signed for 10 years and you are, at any point, if it doesn't, isn't working or we need more room or something like that, then we have the option to back out. So.
And it's a fairly standard contract that Ridgeview uses for other communities. There's some communities that they may not even have a contract with and they just have a handshake and a sharing. So
Okay.
we did get together as we were instructed, and we all met and looked for 3 different opportunities or options of where to put them. And we thought that office was probably the best spot, like Andy said, least disruptive for them. And Chief Metzel, thank you for your flexibility also in giving that. I think it's going to be an asset to the community to have them in town. And as we talk, there may be some of the calls, and it made with them in town, it may limit or not have to have our rescue respond because they'll take care of the call. So it might save some on that too, and some burnout and some of the calls that people have to attend. So certainly a benefit. So thank you, Andy. And with that, then, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. And then that will take us to the resolution awarding the bid for the 2023 Mill and Overlay Project. And with that, I think we have Jeff here from Bolton and Menk.
I'll
Go ahead.
take this one. So we received 7 bids for the project on this, and they all came in a pretty tight grouping, which is really nice to see. And the low bid on this for the Mill and Overlay project area was Mueller and Sons at $642,466.70. When you add in the anticipated engineering costs associated with it, the total project cost is looking at that $722,466.70 mark. So with that, if anybody has any questions regarding the project timeline, things like that, Jeff is here to field those questions. Otherwise, we'd be looking for adoption of the resolution.
And Jeff, Bolton and Menk will be project manager on this, monitoring, taking care of signage, notifying people, or how's that going to work? Or
Yeah.
notifying residents affected?
Yes, we'll take care of everything.
Okay,
Typically, and we'll work with Nick, we'd send out a notice to everybody on the project to say what's going on. Now, for a project like this, that notice is probably sufficient. Potentially, there would be a second notice, but normally for an overlay project, one notice is sufficient.
okay, good. Then there'll be a contact from Bolton and Menk if a resident needs, if they have concerns or need to get a hold of someone, or will there be someone on site periodically, or?
Yeah, so we'll have somebody on site, we'll have that contact information on the newsletter, and then I think we'll have, myself will be on there as well.
Good.
So, yeah, we'll have what's considered full-time inspection. They'll be out here 85% of the time, 100% of the time if they need to, but sometimes you don't need to be out here depending on what they're doing.
Wonderful. Good, thank you.
Then we'd also pair with them, and we'll get the newsletter and put it on our social media
Yeah.
to let people know.
Yeah, we can certainly get it out there as much as we can to let people know.
Yeah, when we have the pre-construction meeting and we get a schedule, that's when we'll start talking about when we get the notice out.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, with that, then I'll look for an approval of resolution 2023-19 awarding the 2023 Mill and Overlay project to William Mueller and Sons for $642,466.70.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Great. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks. Have a
Thanks,
good
Jeff.
night.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
That'll take us to the quote for crack filling of the 2023 seal coating area.
Thank you, Mayor. We were able to obtain a quote to crack fill the seal coat area, so that's very standard, something you do. You want to fill in all the cracks in the area before you do seal coating. That way you get a nice product afterward. So this would be completed prior to the seal coating. We did receive one quote from Gopher State Seal Coat in the amount of $23,526. They were the low quote in 2020, 21, and 22, and staff reports very high satisfaction with their work. So we would recommend approval of that quote.
And this is a budgeted item, correct?
Correct.
All right, with that, I'll look for a motion to approve the crack fill or the seal coat Crackfill Inc. for 2023 awarded to Gopher State Seal Coating Incorporated for $23,526.
Make that motion.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. That will take us to the quote to replace the lawnmower.
We have a request to purchase a replacement lawnmower, a 2023 Hustler lawnmower, 72-inch Super Z. And we like to trade in our lawnmowers every other year. So we keep them for 2 years and we trade them in to get highest value out of that. I believe last year we did not purchase a lawnmower. We had a couple of,
Last year, we did purchase a lawnmower. The year before, we got off schedule because we purchased, the
That's
big
what-
purchase was the payloader.
that's right,
So
that's
we
what
kind
that
of
was.
delayed a year just to handle that big purchase, and now we're back on the 2-year rotation. So that's why this one has a little bit higher hours on it than we normally would. And the trade-in value is a little bit lower, but still pretty good, so.
So the total cost for the new machine would be $14,344. The trade-in value is $7,500, which brings the total cost to $6,844 from Bob's Repair.
Any questions for Kyle or Nick?
So this one's 3 years old. And then,
It was a 2020. Yep, correct,
the other one is a 2022.
correct.
So then, right, well,
So next year, the 2022 one will be on rotation.
okay.
Get replaced.
All right, I'll look for a motion to approve the bid from Bob's Repair for the 72-inch Hustler Super X with the trade-in discount of $7,500 for a 2020 mower for a total cost of $6,844.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. That will take us to the approve the quote for sewer jetting services.
The sewer jetting is part of our regular maintenance on the sewer systems. It keeps the line clear, helps prevent main backups, which is all good to have, except when you get them in your service line, I guess. But for this go around, we got 2 quotes to do the work. Overline and Sun was the low in the amount of $24,760, and this would be to do about 25,000 linear feet of that. And then the area for that would be Coldwater Crossing and then most of Hidden Creek, as you can see in the attached map.
All right, any questions for either Kyle or Nick? That'll look for a motion to accept the quote from Overline and Sons for the amount of $24,760 for the 2023 sewer jetting project.
Make that motion.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Kyle Overline and Sons has done most of our jetting, correct? If not all.
Correct. Yeah, pretty much all of it since I've been here.
So I'm very-
Besides when we've done some lining projects, then it's been another company. Actually, Hydro Clean has been here before too. So,
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I'm pleased to see that they're the low. They've been great to work with. They've done a great job.
yes, absolutely.
Hopefully continue to use their service for years on. Yeah, continuing.
Do you have a time frame?
I think it was either, I think it's in June or July. I think we're slated for.
All right. Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. That will take us to the replacement of the community center walk-in cooler equipment.
So early this month, the walk-in cooler, the compressor, and the evaporator, they failed on us. We had Lee's Refrigeration come in, and they've serviced that for several years. They also service other local businesses as well. And after taking a look and given the age of the equipment, I'd asked them to furnish us a replacement cost to get new equipment. This is slightly upsized equipment, as you have the walk-in cooler, but then you have the back freezer space. That freezer has never been used. So we're going to be taking the door off of that, and then this new unit will be able to cool not just the walk-in cooler space, but also the freezer space. We're expanding that a little bit as well. So I got the quote for that, and that came in at $7,950, and that'll be for the condensing unit and the evaporator.
Perfect.
And hopefully that'll be good for another 20 years.
Right.
Look for a quote to approve look for a motion to approve the quote from Lee's Refrigeration of Waconia for $7,950.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion?
Is this typically used by people who rent the facility?
Yep.
It's just a benefit that we have the freezer space now. Or
Yep.
refrigerator.
Like the kegerator.
And a little bit of the hassle the last 2 weeks without it.
Yeah. We got a lot of people who do use it.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Ordinance 238, amending the fee schedule.
Once again, we're bringing this back for the adoption of this ordinance. We introduced it at the last meeting, and there have been no changes to it. So we'd be looking for adoption.
Look for a motion to adopt ordinance 238, amending the fee schedule.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Motion second from Wagner. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Adoption of ordinance 239, amending chapter 72 on golf carts.
Again, much like the ordinance before, this was introduced at the last meeting, so we're looking for adoption at this meeting, and there have been no changes since our last viewing.
Motion to adopt ordinance 239, amending chapter 72 on golf carts.
Motion.
Motion. We have a second.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. That will take us to council reports. Councilmember Wagner, anything to report on?
No, I missed the EDA meeting, so I have nothing.
Okay.
The first one in a year, and
Fair
why
enough.
show up?
Yeah, right. Councilmember Health, anything to report on?
We had the EDA meeting. Unfortunately, we didn't get our funding this year, but we had discussions on how to use it going forward. Some matching grants to local businesses, hopefully with little to no restrictions on what they can use it for, just to hopefully entice some business into town or someone that's already in business to expand or.
Good.
So 1-to-1 match, right?
Wonderful.
Up to 10,000.
Anything else? Anything else? Okay, Councilmember McNeely?
Nope.
Nothing. And I had a Public Works meeting last week, and one of our bigger items was starting a little discussion. There's obviously a little bit of a surplus now from the 2023 street project from where the original bids came in and some of the money that we had. So we had some discussion on what to do with that. You can't take it now and pay extra onto the bond as it is. So do we pick up a little bit more of some street projects maybe from 2024 and pull them in early now since the money's there and they're out there working? And does that make sense? Or do we maybe try to pick up a few projects that aren't on the radar that would be beneficial to the community because we have this? So we're working through that. Probably take us another meeting or two. We're getting some quotes on a few different things that might be some good options. So
Like significant? I mean, like parking lot in Meadow Park significant?
no, I don't. Well, that would be more from the park.
Well,
It's
right.
gonna be more for the park and rec to do. I mean, some
Okay.
would be 62nd Street needs to be replaced.
Yes, yep.
Is that one? Or one item we brought up, do we maybe expand this parking lot here? Or do we have some roads down on the south end of town, south of Casey's on those fourth, is it third, fourth and fifth or fourth,
Fourth, fifth, and sixth.
fourth, fifth and sixth and the U there that need to be done? So do we add in some extra stuff as a bonus, or do we just pull in some more of the street projects and do some of that? So, but we're open, we can still look, but we're kind of getting quotes right now, but, so more of that will be coming in the next, I don't know, couple month or so, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably.
Want to have recommendations sooner rather than later as our contractors start gearing up for the projects we have. Where if it's something the Public Works Committee wants to recommend up is let's expand a little bit, do a little bit more mill and overlay, a little bit more seal coating. We got to make sure we get that in front of council sooner rather than later because contractors have quantities they need to line up.
Yep. So we have Bolton and Menk on that. Some quotes we have. Kyle gets some quotes on 62nd Street, see what we can do there. So, and Don, yes.
I vote is seal coat for Fifth Street.
Weird.
Duly noted. Thank you.
We also talked about the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Issues.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And take care of some of that too. So we
Yeah.
got some things on the table. We're just working through and we'll be meeting again, hopefully sooner than later, once we get some of these quotes in.
I'm thinking early next week.
Perfect. I think that'll be good. All right, and that's all I have. So with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that. All three of us.
Motion from Wagner. Do we have a second? I'll
Second.
second it.
Yes.
We got a second from McNeely. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
That's funny.
The whole meeting, everybody's just waiting.
Yeah, so like, we all.
And then adjournment.